You awaken before the sun, your room dim and heavy with silence. The scent of ash and wool lingers in the air, a reminder that the hearth had burned late into the night. Your eyes land on the silk dress hanging by the door, and your stomach twists. It is the finest thing you've ever owned. Deep indigo fabric lined with embroidery your mother stitched by candlelight, her fingers raw and blistered. You were 12, and today is your wedding day. The world outside does not care that your hands are still small or that your knees still bear the scrapes of childhood games. This is not a day for dreams, it is a day of duty. Your father sits at the table, hunched over a parchment bearing Latin phrases you cannot read. A contract, a bargain, a sale. His signature is already drying in ink. Your name is written below, though you didn't place it there. You never touched the quill. Across the room, your mother's lips move without sound, clutching her rosary like a lifeline. She will not look at you. Not yet. The groom is a man you have never met. He is nearly 4 times your age, but lands to his name and a history that passes between whispering maids like smoke under doors. His first wife died in childbirth. You try not to think about that. It is of no use. In this world, a girl is not a person, but a promise, of alliance, of land, of bloodlines continued. You were promised when you were still too young to braid your own hair, and now the time has come to fulfill it. The village is already stirring. People are gathering outside, murmuring blessings and exchanging glances. There is no joy in their voices, only the tired resignation of those who've seen this before. You are not the first. You will not be the last. As you dress, your mother helps fasten the buttons at your back, her hands trembling. A wife must be quiet, she whispers, finally meeting your eyes. And still. The fabric is too tight across your chest. The sleeves itch, but you say nothing. You step outside, into the pale light of morning. The cold air bites at your cheeks. The path to the church is short, but it feels endless. People bow their heads as you pass, not in celebration, but in recognition. This is a ritual, a transfer, a farewell. At the altar, the priest's voice echoes through the stone walls. You barely understand the words. Your father answers for you. The groom looks at you without smiling. He does not need to. The ring is heavy on your finger, not gold, but iron, chosen for strength, not beauty. You try to keep your hand still, and then it is done. You are no longer a girl. You are a wife. The feast is already underway when you return to your father's hall, your new husband at your side. The guests rise to greet you, their expressions more curious than kind. The long tables are lined with bread, cheese, roasted meat, symbols of plenty that have little to do with you. This is not a celebration of love. It is a public confirmation of a contract fulfilled. You are seated beside Sir Aldrich, your husband, though you still struggle to think of him in those terms. He smells of smoke and sweat and something sharper, like iron. His voice is low and clipped as he asks about your family, your health, and whether you've begun your monthly courses. You answer softly, your words as small as you feel. You do not look up. He barely eats, instead drinking steadily from his goblet as men down the table laugh loudly, already drunk on wine and victory. Your plate remains mostly untouched. Every bite feels like ash in your mouth. A minstrel plays in the corner, strumming a worn lute and singing a ballad about a knight who dies for love. No one listens, least of all you. Your eyes are drawn to your mother, seated apart from the merriment. She does not smile. She does not eat. She watches you with eyes full of silence, as though memorizing you for the last time. You try to sit still, to be good, to be what they all expect, a silent ornament at your husband's side. But the weight of it all is pressing against your chest, tight unyielding. You long to run, but where would you go? You know the answer. Nowhere. The guests begin to shout toasts to heirs, to prosperity, to alliances that will endure. They do not toast to you. As the sun disappears behind the hills, the laughter grows louder. The hall feels smaller. You feel smaller. And then, without warning, the voices shift in tone. Boisterous becomes crude. Celebratory becomes invasive. They make jokes, not subtle ones, about the night to come, about youth and vigor and the duty of a good wife. You do not understand all of it, but you understand enough. You keep your eyes on the table. Your husband does not laugh, but he does not stop them. That, you realize, is worse. The women, your mother among them, rise first. One approaches you and touches your shoulder. Her fingers are cold. "Come, child," she says, and her voice is soft in a way that makes you want to cry. It is time. They lead you from the hall, your new husband still seated, finishing his drink. The stone floor is cold beneath your feet. The passageways twist like roots beneath a tree, narrow and dark. You arrive at a chamber you've never seen before, but which will now be yours. It is sparse, a bed, a chest, a single candle flickering against the stone wall. The linen on the bed is clean and white, purposefully white. The women help you undress, their hands efficient, impersonal. Your dress is folded, your shoes placed neatly beside the bed. You stand there in your shift, shivering, not from cold, but from something deeper. Your mother steps forward. She places a hand on your cheek. She says, "Be still. Be quiet. Be brave." Her voice cracks on the last word. Then she leaves. You are alone. For a moment. Then the door opens.
Sir Aldrich enters the room with the confidence of a man who has never once questioned his place in the world. His boots strike the stone floor heavily. He closes the door behind him with care, not urgency, as though sealing something final. For a moment he looks around the room, eyes grazing over the bed, the candle, and finally, you. He says nothing at first. The silence stretches until it trembles. Then, in a voice that carries no edge, but also no warmth, he speaks. It is a small room, but adequate. You nod, though you don't know what he expects from you. He does not approach. Instead, he removes his cloak, folds it with precision, and sets it on the chest. His every movement is deliberate, controlled, not cruel, not kind, just practiced. This is not his first wedding night. You stand as still as you can manage, but your fingers betray you, trembling at your sides. You wish you could disappear into the stone itself. He notices. Of course he notices. And for a second, just one, you think you see hesitation flicker behind his eyes. But it is gone before it takes shape. He crosses the room slowly and sits at the edge of the bed, gesturing for you to sit beside him. Your legs refuse to move. You force them. He studies you for a moment longer, then speaks again. It is a small room, but adequate. You needn't fear me, child. I won't harm you without cause. It is not comfort. It is a condition. You lower your eyes. There is no right answer to anything he might say. He asks about your prayers, whether you believe in obedience, whether you understand the duties of a wife. You nod again and again, your voice caught somewhere between your throat and your ribs. I will provide for you, he says, and I expect gratitude, not resistance. His words are not loud, they do not need to be. A long pause follows. He stands, walks to the window, looks out into the blackness. Then, almost absent-mindedly, "Tomorrow we will leave for the manor. It is a day's ride. You'll adjust." You wonder what kind of world exists in the manor. if the windows are larger, if there's a place to breathe. Eventually, he leaves the room, not with fury, not with affection, just quiet finality. The door shuts behind him. You are left in a room too big and too small all at once. The candle flickers. Your shift clings to your skin with the dampness of sweat and fear. You lie on the edge of the bed and pull the rough blanket over your body like armor. You wait for sleep, but it does not come. Instead, you stare at the ceiling and wonder, is this the end of childhood, or merely the beginning of something worse? Your body is untouched, for now, but your mind feels bruised. In the morning, you will be a wife in name and in law. And names, in this world, are all that matter.
The carriage rattles along the uneven road, wheels bouncing over stones, every jolt reminding you that you are being carried farther from the only world you've ever known. Beside you sits your mother, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, lips pressed into a line that betrays no emotion. She is here only to deliver you to your new life. She will return home alone. Across from you, Sir Aldrich sits with perfect posture, unmoved by the discomfort of the journey. He reads a letter, eyes scanning the parchment with mild interest. He does not look at you. Hours pass in silence, broken only by the occasional bark of a dog in some distant village, or the creak of the leather straps holding the trunk behind the coach. When at last the trees part and the manor comes into view, you feel your breath catch. It is not a castle, not a palace, but it looms all the same. High stone walls rise above a courtyard littered with mud and straw. A small chapel clings to the side of the main building like an afterthought. Smoke drifts from the chimney, but the windows are shuttered tight despite the afternoon sun. The carriage pulls to a halt. A servant opens the door. Your mother steps down first, her skirts sweeping the earth like fallen leaves. You hesitate, then follow, careful not to slip. "Welcome to Greyvale," Sir Aldrich announces with no ceremony. "This is your home now." He leads you through the great hall, a cavernous space with high beams and cold air that wraps around your ankles. Tapestries line the walls, hunting scenes, battles, saints. Their eyes seem to follow you as you walk. Servants line the edges of the room, heads bowed. You can feel their stares, not unkind, but assessing, measuring. They know what you are, what you will be. You are shown to a chamber at the end of a narrow corridor. The room is modest, stone floor, wooden bed, small hearth, a single window that barely lets in light. A linen shift hangs from a hook on the wall. Your belongings, few as they are, have already been placed in a chest at the foot of the bed. Sir Aldrich remains in the doorway. "You will take your meals with me unless told otherwise. Speak to the steward if you require anything. The priest will visit weekly." You nod, unsure whether you are permitted to speak. He looks at you one last time and turns and leaves without another word. Your mother lingers. She touches your cheek just once. "Be wise," she says quietly. "Be still." She does not say goodbye. She simply walks away, footsteps fading into the stone. You are alone. Night falls quickly. The candles sputter in the damp. You lie awake beneath the coarse wool blanket, listening to the unfamiliar creaks of this new place. Every noise is a question, every shadow a warning. Outside, an owl calls into the darkness. Inside, your silence answers back. You do not cry, not tonight, perhaps not ever again.
Morning begins not with sunlight, but with a knock. The servant enters without waiting for permission, setting down a basin of cold water and cloth. She doesn't speak. Neither do you. There's a rhythm to her actions, practiced, detached. She doesn't look at you directly, but you sense she is watching all the same, judging your silence, measuring your fear. "You are to dress and present yourself in the solar," she says finally. "Lady Margot will instruct you." The name is unfamiliar. You obey anyway. The manor seems different in daylight, not warmer, just more alive. You pass through corridors filled with hushed movement, maids polishing brass, boys hauling firewood, older women bent over mending linen. No one lingers. Everyone watches. Everyone disappears before you can speak. Lady Margot waits in a high-ceilinged room with wide windows and worn tapestries. She is not young. Her gray hair is twisted into a severe braid. Her gown is plain as it is fine. She holds a ledger in one hand and a distaff in the other. When she sees you, she does not smile. "You will learn to manage a household, to order meals, monitor stores, oversee servants. You will learn herbs and accounts and etiquette. Your husband will expect a wife, not a child." You nod. She studies you for a long moment, then gestures for you to sit down. "We begin with linen inventory." Hours pass in silence, broken only by the scratching of quill on parchment and the occasional correction from Lady Margot. You were told which herbs preserve meat, which roots clean stains, which servants are lazy, which will obey. Everything is taught in whispers and warning glances. The manor is a machine, and you are being trained to become one of its gears. At midday, you are summoned to dine. The meal is formal and quiet. Sir Aldrich speaks only once to remark that the roast is overdone. No one replies. You eat slowly, unsure of the rules. You watch where others place their spoons, how they hold their cups, when they wipe their mouths. Every motion feels like a test. Every bite tastes of dread. Afterward, you are returned to Lady Margot, who instructs you in embroidery. Your fingers bleed from the needle, but you do not complain. Pain is part of the education. When the lesson ends, you are not praised, just dismissed. That night in your chamber, you soak your hands in the basin left by the servant. The water is pink with your own blood. You have said almost nothing all day. Still, it feels as though you've been shouting silently from behind a wall no one can hear through. You lie in bed with aching fingers and a burning head. Outside, the wind howls through the cracks in the stone. Inside, your thoughts twist like thread through the needle. You wonder how many other girls lie in beds like this across manors and keeps and castles, each taught to smile, to obey, and to bleed quietly. You wonder if any of them remembered what freedom felt like. You wonder if they ever dared to want more.
Seasons shift like the turn of pages, though nothing ever truly changes. You grow taller, not from joy, but from inevitability. Your gowns no longer drag behind you. Your shoes are replaced. Your face, once round with youth, grows sharper, more solemn. But inside, you remain suspended, a child held hostage in a woman's life. Each morning begins the same. A soft knock, a basin of water, silence. Your body rises before your mind. You move through the motions of another day, carefully stitched together from obedience and routine. Lady Margot continues her instruction with unyielding precision. She teaches you how to respond to nobles, to oversee harvest counts, to detect lies in a servant's trembling voice. She teaches you how to smile at guests while watching their hands, how to nod at jokes that unnerve you, how to keep records of everything, even your own suffering. As if that might protect you from it. Your husband speaks little. He dines, he drinks, he travels. His presence fills the room like smoke, suffocating even in silence. When he returns from his journeys, he barely acknowledges you beyond what is expected. A nod, a word, a command. You once thought indifference would be kinder than cruelty, but indifference rots slower. The household settles into the rhythm of your training. Servants begin to answer your instructions without hesitation. Even the steward consults you on inventories. You're growing into your role, not by choice, but because refusal is a luxury long denied. There are moments of faint warmth. The kitchen maid who sneaks you honeyed bread when no one's looking. The old gardener who names the herbs in Latin and smiles with missing teeth. A falconer who lets you stroke a bird's feathers, whispering that some things are only meant to fly. But these are shadows, glimpses of color in an otherwise gray world. You learn not to linger on them. One afternoon, you find an old book hidden beneath loose floorboards in the solar, a collection of poems in French, worn thin by other hands. The words are strange and lovely, filled with longing and loss, with women who dreamed beyond their station. You memorize them, not aloud, but by heart. You are 15 when your second child is born. This time, you survive with fewer scars. The pain is no less, but it's familiar, expected, endurable. You name the boy Thomas, though you never speak it aloud outside your chamber. Your husband calls him Jeffrey, after his father. That will be the name on church records, the name on inheritance scrolls. But in your dreams, he will always be Thomas. You whisper it to him as he sleeps against your chest. Outside, the world prepares for winter. Inside, you prepare for what comes next. You are no longer the girl in the blue silk dress. You are something else now. Not quite a wife, not quite a woman. Something in between. A witness to your own story. And still waiting for a voice.
The boy thrives. That is your greatest surprise. Thomas, no, Jeffrey, as the world insists, has your eyes, and your father's quiet. He watches everything. He cries little, eats well, sleeps beside you without protest. In the rare moments when your husband holds him, it is more to inspect than to bond. A legacy, not a child. But you love him fiercely, though silently. Always silently. You learn to love in quiet ways, in the way you rock him just a moment longer, even when the nursemaid reaches for him, in the way you place your body between him and the draft at night, in the lullabies you hum beneath your breath, never finishing the tune. Love, you discover, must be camouflaged to survive here. By the time your third child is born, a girl, pale and slow to cry, you know better than to celebrate. You name her Cecily in your thoughts, though no one asks for your input. Her baptism is grander than yours ever was. The priest, the same one who once blessed your wedding bed, dips his fingers into holy water and draws the sign of the cross with studied detachment. He does not meet your eyes. The girl survives, barely, and you thank saints you no longer believe in. Your days are full, not busy, but full, like a vase filled with stones. Needlework, estate ledgers, small talks with the steward, letters dictated on behalf of your husband, letters you never sign with your own name. That would be inappropriate. You keep a second ledger, hidden among your prayer books. This one records different things. Which servant limps after returning from the stables? Which maid's hands shake when she sets the table? Which guest's eyes linger too long on the girls in the kitchen? Knowledge is safety. You speak little. Your voice is now a blade you draw only when necessary. The wrong word, the wrong tone, it could cut you more than anyone else. You practice neutrality in every syllable, polish it like silver. You smile when required, nod when spoken to, retreat when dismissed. You are learning the art of survival, as women have learned it for centuries, through silence, through obedience, through calculated invisibility. When you write letters to other noble women, always on your husband's behalf, you wonder if they too are living like ghosts. Their replies are courteous, restrained, and just as hollow. You read between the lines, searching for cracks in the facade. There are none. Or if they exist, they remain hidden like yours. Your body has aged beyond your years. Your back aches after long rides. Your eyes strain in candlelight. You feel the toll of birth, of bending, of not speaking. The physician prescribes rest and herbs, but no one prescribes freedom. No one even names it. You begin to teach your eldest daughter to read, quietly, illegally. Your husband believes reading beyond prayer is dangerous for girls. And maybe he's right. Reading teaches the shape of other worlds, worlds where women ride horses fast and unescorted, where names belong to the bearers, where silence is not survival, but choice. Your daughter's fingers trace the letters slowly, reverently. In her eyes, you see something you once had and lost.
They call your daughter Cecily, but that's not the name that lives in your heart. To you, she is light, small and fierce and fast, slipping through doorways before anyone notices. She climbs trees in her good dress, dares to speak before spoken to, and sometimes forgets to curtsy. Your husband says she's unruly, that you're soft, that another year with you will ruin her. So he decides to send her away. It's a tradition, he says. Noble daughters must be trained in households greater than their own. Discipline, manner, the shaping of silk into steel. You nod as though you agree. You always do. But that night, after he leaves the chamber, you press your lips to her sleeping forehead and whisper her true name. The next morning, a servant packs Cecily's things: a cloak, too thin for the journey, a comb, a rosary that once belonged to your mother. You slip a note into her satchel, written in Latin so the men won't read it. 4 words: remember who you are. She waves from the cart. You do not cry. It's not safe to cry. Your eldest son, Jeffrey, is old enough now to train with swords. Your husband insists on it. He hires a knight to teach him war and God and silence. The boy learns quickly. He rarely asks questions, but sometimes, at dusk, he finds you in the garden, sits beside you, and holds your hand without speaking. He reminds you of yourself before the silence. By now you've birthed 7 children. 5 live, 2 were buried without names. The last birth nearly killed you. The bleeding wouldn't stop. You remember the physician pressing hot irons to your skin, the smell of your own flesh burning. You remember your husband standing in the doorway, asking only one question: was it a son? It wasn't. He left before you fainted. Since then, he rarely comes to your bed. Not out of mercy, but boredom. Your usefulness is waning, he says. Your body no longer pleasing. He's looking for a new wife, someone younger, richer, fertile. You are not surprised. A man may discard a wife as he does a worn saddle. As long as the church allows annulment, or finds a cause, infertility, heresy, disobedience, his honor remains intact. Yours is never considered. But he forgets one thing. You are not just a wife. You are a watcher, a ledger keeper, a memory maker. When the steward takes a bribe, you know. When the maid becomes pregnant, you know. When your husband signs a letter in haste, forgetting to seal it, you know. And knowledge in this place is the only form of power you can wield. Quietly, unseen, waiting.
Winter comes early this year. The frost creeps under doorways and lingers on window panes long past morning. The hearth in your chamber barely fights the cold. Your fingers are always numb. Your breath curls white in the air before you speak. But still, you manage. You manage because you must. Jeffrey turns 10 and receives his first dagger. The blade is dull, ceremonial, a symbol of manhood. Your husband hosts a feast in his honor. Nobles gather, meat flows, wine spills. The boy barely touches his food. His eyes stay fixed on the dagger's hilt. Later that night, he comes to you. "Mother," he says, "will I be like him?" You want to lie. You want to tell him he will be better, gentler, kinder. But you've learned the cost of false hope. Instead, you ask, "Do you want to be?" He shakes his head slowly, then curls into your side like he did when he was small. "I don't want to forget how to feel," he whispers. Neither do you. Elsewhere in the manor, the servants talk in low voices. They speak of war, rumors of rebellion far to the north, barons unhappy with the king, villages burning, tax collectors hung from trees. Your husband scoffs at the talk, but you watch him. He checks the locks twice each night. His voice grows sharp when the steward is late. He sharpens his sword more often than needed. Fear eats at him. You recognize the taste. One evening, while helping the cook prepare herbs, you find a sprig of something unfamiliar. Dark green, bitter. The midwife, Agnes, taught you its name years ago. It was not a healing herb. It was an ending. You don't touch it again, but you don't throw it away either. You wrap it in cloth, hide it beneath loose floorboards next to the broken clasp of your first wedding dress and the ribbon from Cecily's hair. Not as a plan, but as a possibility. Time passes like water through cracked hands. Days blend. Seasons shift. You become invisible, even in your own house. No one asks your opinion. No one seeks your presence. You move through rooms like a shadow, unheard and unseen. And yet, you are always listening. You hear the steward's secrets, the guard's gossip, the whispers in the chapel when no one thinks you're near. You are the ghost that remembers. And ghosts, as even the church knows, are not powerless. One day, you receive a letter, smuggled in the folds of a linen shipment, a scrap of parchment with a child's scrawl. "I remember. I will return." It's Cecily's hand. Your fingers tremble as you fold the letter. You place it next to the bitter herb. You breathe, deep and long, as if your lungs had been locked shut for years and only now remembered air. A small ember burns in the coldness of your chest. Hope. Not loud, not reckless, but stubborn.
Cecily's letter changes everything. Not the world, not the rules, but you. You rise before dawn with something new in your veins. Not fear, not obedience. Something else. Something that refuses to break. You still fulfill your duties. You smile at the steward. You light candles in the chapel. You nod when your husband speaks. But now, you are listening for footsteps in the dark, watching which guards drink too heavily, memorizing which doors creak and which stay silent. You are no longer just surviving. You are preparing. The children grow. Jeffrey reads with hunger. Eleanor tends to her siblings with a calm far beyond her years. They have learned to be quiet, to disappear when their father storms through the halls. But they are watching you too, noticing how you press your hand to the loose floorboard when you think no one sees, how your eyes linger on the horizon. One night, Jeffrey speaks again. I don't want to live like this. His voice is quiet, but clear. You take his hand. You don't have to. Later, when the house is asleep, you teach him the old servant routes. Through the kitchens, down the wine cellar stairs, out the narrow goat path through the woods. He learns fast. He always has. Just in case you whisper, not yet, but soon. And still days pass, painfully slow. The priest drones on in the chapel. Your husband grows older, meaner, his moods darkening like storm clouds. The bruises return, the silence stretches longer. The threat of war creeps closer. People whisper of barons rising, of kings losing their grip. Power is shifting. And you, for the first time, are not afraid of that. Then, one afternoon, the letter arrives. This time not smuggled, but delivered. A crest you don't recognize. A seal broken hastily. Inside, a name. Lady Cecily of Caldrith Hall. Alive. Titled. Protected. A single line beneath the name. When the ground shakes, run. You don't know when or how, but it's coming. The shake, the collapse. You spend the next days preparing in silence, packing herbs, wrapping bread in cloth, sewing coin into Jeffrey's cloak. No one sees. No one suspects. They never suspect the obedient wife, the quiet mother, the girl who learned how to be water and now has learned how to boil. And on the coldest night of winter, the ground begins to tremble. Not metaphorically, literally. Hoofbeats, shouting, steel clashing on stone. Rebellion has come to your doorstep. Your husband bellows for his sword. You call for your children. No hesitation, no fear, only movement. Through the cellar, down the path, into the trees, as the manor burns behind you.